What up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Funboxing with Will from H2O Co. Film and Photo. Today we're going to be doing a review of the new firmware update that they've just released to the DJI Mavic Air 2. This new firmware update includes a lot of awesome features that I think we should talk about. And so let's get into that review. Alrighty, everybody. Now, before I get into the review, I just wanted to thank all of my subscribers. If you find any information you find in this video useful at all, or you'd like to see more content, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. I appreciate all my viewers. I started this channel off with 2 subscribers, and they were both family members, and I am currently up to 71 subscribers, so that is really awesome. Once I reach 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to be doing a giveaway for my Mavic Mini drone. So anyways, back to the review. Today we're going to be talking about the new firmware update that they've just recently released to the DJI Mavic Air 2. A lot of the things that they put in there, I'm not exactly sure why they would do it. It kind of blew, from what I gather, it blew a lot of people's minds that they would put a zoom feature into the drone. Currently, as far as I'm aware, the only other drone that does zooming is the Mavic Pro Zoom, or the Mavic Pro 2 Zoom, and that's an $1,800 drone. So the fact that they've put that capability into a drone at half the price point, along with the 4K at 60 frames a second, really makes this drone a competitor for media content creation. And it's almost as if they don't want people to buy the Zoom anymore. This firmware update also came with a fix to a problem that a lot of people had, which was that even on the Mavic Mini, you can control the zoom, the pitch, the smoothness, and the speed of your gimbal. Well, until this update, the Mavic Air 2 had been lacking that capability, and it had, I guess, been upsetting to a lot of people because they had to adjust the way they flew and captured photos and videos to the drone itself, instead of being able to cater the drone settings to their particular flight methods, and if that makes sense. So along with that, it came with, as I said, it came with the zoom feature, and it came with the update to the gimbal smoothness, pitch, all of those things. Now, with the zoom feature in 1080p, you can go up to a 4x digital zoom. Now, mind you, these are digital zooms. They did not do anything at all to change the hardware itself in the camera, so there's no actual mechanical zoom feature, so keep that in mind. Your resolution will degrade if you go too far in on a zoom, especially in the 1080p department. In the 4K department, though, the range is up to a 2x digital zoom, which in itself it's an amazing capability. It adds so much more value to this drone, I believe. I love the fact that they added it in, and I've been using it quite frequently since it's been added. Now, one of the issues I did notice, I'll talk about here in just a moment after I show you guys some visual retrospectives. I took some footage of me actually flying the drone to show you an example of how the video does degrade a little bit when you're in that zoom mode on the 1080p. I don't know if they're using the 12 megapixel mode or they're using the 48 megapixel mode, since this drone does have the new quad Bear sensor. So that's something I'm probably going to write to DJI and inquire about, to see whether or not they actually take advantage of all 48 megapixels when you're doing that. But it also came with a wide 4K angle, so you have your normal 4K mode, wide 4K mode, and then now you have the 2x digital zoom in 4K. So here's some of that footage that I took when I went out to fly the drone yesterday, and we'll play that right now. Alrighty, guys, so I wanted to show you an actual physical example of the new features this drone firmware update has presented us with here on the Mavic Air 2. So first, if you'll notice on the left hand side of the screen, directly above the takeoff and landing button, there is or an arrow, compass-like arrow with a octagon around it. Now, as of right now, you can see through the screen that I am able to move the drone left and right, but sadly, this drone has no side sensors on it. So a lot of times if you're doing a circular motion or if you're tracking something parallel to it, you're putting yourself at risk unless you're right there able to move it really fast in case something gets in the way. There is no obstacle avoidance that way. This new feature, safety assistance mode sideways. So now, I know you can't see it, but I am pushing the joystick to the left and now to the right, and it will not move the drone left or right. I also heard that they had updated some of the APAS systems to make it a little bit more accurate as far as obstacle avoidance. And I guess the biggest feature, which I'm still confused as to why they put it on the drone, not that I'm complaining, I love it, but it just doesn't make sense when they have the Pro Zoom, why they would add this feature to this drone. But if you'll notice here, on the right hand side of the screen right there by the record button, there is a little circle that says 1x. Now, I am in 1080p currently. So in 1080p, you have up to a 4x digital zoom. So I click it once and we're zoomed in to a 2x zoom. I click it again and now we're at a 4x zoom, which I think is a pretty darn neat feature. Oh, I'm sorry, that's 3x. You want 4x, boom, there you go. So you can actually, with the 1080p, pull a 4x digital zoom in. Now, if I wanted to switch it over to, let's say, 4K mode, the 4K mode isn't as close up. I don't believe it's 4x. I believe it's only a 2x digital zoom that you can apply to it. So I'll go ahead. That's the widescreen. That's its normal view. And then when you hit the 2x digital zoom, that's what they're going to go ahead and give you. Now, I am not sure whether or not they use the 12 megapixel sensor when this is initiated, or if they're using all 48 megapixels on the quad bear sensor, but it is something that they've included along with gimbal sensitivity adjustments. So now you can actually adjust the pitch, the yaw, the speed, and the smoothness of your gimbal. One thing I have noticed though, which I'll talk about more in a second, is that it has changed the way the drone itself flies. So I just wanted to give you guys a physical example of what it is. And also, as you can see up on the top right here, they have this new battery compartment area, which is pretty useful. And as well as in the safety, I noticed, let me find it real quick, battery info they have now, which is pretty darn useful. It lets you know how many times each battery has been charged, the levels of the battery, the temperature, and the voltage that are going through. So all in all of these added features that they've added make this drone even more bang for your buck, essentially. And so I just wanted to give you a visual representation of that, and we'll get back to the studio now. Alrighty, so yeah, as I said, I've noticed that when I adjusted the yaw and the panning speed and smoothness, ever since this update, I have noticed a significant change in the way that the drone actually flies. I've probably clocked about 200 flights and close to, like, I don't know, probably 50 hours on the DJI Mavic Air 2 just over the last 2-3 months since I bought it. I'm not a pro for sure, but I do have quite a bit of experience flying the drone. And I noticed right away, after this firmware update was entered into the drone's settings and stuff, and I had started messing around with the pan access and the speed and the smoothness, I noticed that when you're flying the drone now, as the drone flies forward, I used to be able to change position of the drone and it wouldn't really, I couldn't hear any strain on the motors. It would just sound the same. It would fly and it would change positions as it flew. Now with this increased speed of the pan and the yaw, I've noticed that it almost sounds as if it's putting more strain on the motors. I'd be very curious to find out if anybody else has had this experience as well. Just the sound that the motors give out is almost a higher pitch whining noise as you're changing position with the drone itself in the air. And I'm wondering if it has to, I mean, I'm assuming it has to do with the speed altercations in the yaw and the pan itself. But it's almost like it takes a second for the drone to realize that it's turning now, and it almost will stop its forward momentum, turn, and then continue the forward momentum, not to a complete stop, but just enough that it sounds almost like it's putting an additional strain on the motors. And I'd really like to see what DJI has to say about that. It just seems a little bit strange to me that they would do something like that. I finally did kind of dial in the settings to where I preferred them, but I would suggest, if you are used to flying the Mavic Air 2, to adjust your gimbal settings where you'd like them, where you'd prefer them. And then there is kind of it's not a steep learning curve, but there is a relearning how to fly the drone. There is a curve there that you have to relearn some of the aspects of it, because as I said, it does change the way that the drone actually flies. So as long as it doesn't do any damage to my drone, I'm a happy camper. I am completely thrilled with the new capabilities of this thing, and like I said, I really feel like it adds more bang for the buck, considering that this is a $799 drone at the base model price, and if you go and add it, the Fly More kit, it's $989, I believe, is what I paid for it. After tax, it came out to just over $1,050. So for that price point, and to be able to say that you're getting the features that the Pro models have that run about $1,800, I would say it's definitely the best drone on the market that DJI offers currently. That is until they release the Pro 3 model, which I've heard has a ton of new features. I'm going to be doing a video next week on that, and just the overview of what I've heard about the Pro 3. I've heard one of the things is that it has a top sensor now, so you're not going to be flying into anything as you elevate the drone. So, but yeah, so that's pretty much the specs of the new firmware update. And again, if you haven't gotten that firmware update, please do go download it. It is worth it. It also added some safety features that I talked about in the video footage, as far as the flight, left to right flight modes, and how you can actually disable the stick so that you can't fly left or right, and that is very useful in a lot of situations, as the Air 2 does not have side sensors on the drone itself. So I'm going to go ahead and post a little overview now of some of the actual specs that they've changed, and then other than that, it's just a quick little review today on that firmware update. So as always, I hope you guys stay safe. If you like this video, again, hit like, hit subscribe. I appreciate all of my viewers, and I just wanted to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate you guys subscribing to the channel. So until next time, you guys stay safe and stay creative, my friends. Have a great day.